But I'm going to lightly sketch out my oval closer towards the bottom of my paper, so I've got enough room for her hair. But notice I'm creating in lots and lots of lines in here. That's really what we look for foundation. If you don't like one side, you can always round it out until you have it the way that you want it. All of these extra lines are helping me to create in this one shape. I'm just blending them together so I've got something on my page that I can work with. You can also think of it as you're adding in a rainbow shape at the top and a U shape down below. But within the oval, also add in construction lines. These lines will help us anchor down the features of her face, lightly adding in one line right down the middle of the oval to divide it in half. I'm also stretching it up towards the top and at the bottom to help me to add in all of her features. Now for her eye line, not directly in the middle of the oval, but a little bit below the middle of the oval, I'm going to lightly sketch out a stretched out letter U shape. So I'm giving my construction line more of a bend here to it. So just wrapping it around my oval shape to really show that volume here in our shape. We'll also add in her neck and her shoulders, so she's not just a floating head on our page. And to add in her neck, hopping down here on either side of my construction line, I'm going to draw in this little open dent letter V shape. So by adding in a diagonal line, just curving it back over towards the construction line on either side. I'm keeping all of my lines really light blue, so nothing is darkened in here for her. But I'll add in her shoulders by drawing in these little half rainbow shapes on either side here. But I also want to add in the collar here of her dress. And I add in the collar, hopping back in towards the center here of that letter V shape. I'm going to sketch out another letter V, but this time this is something that I want to keep. So I'm going to start to go back with more of a heavier line to lock this into place. And I want to add in some thickness to her collar by drawing in just a curved line, just wrapping this right back over towards either side. Think of this as you're adding in this weird letter M shape here too. And to even show that her collar is wrapping behind her neck, I'm going to even add in these little flat rainbow shapes here on either side. But I can also start to go back and lock in the rest of her neck. Anything that's not being covered up by her collar. I'll even lock in the sides here of her shoulders. And she wears this sleeveless dress, so I'm going to give her some sleeveless arms here by drawing in some little curved lines here along the inside. And Ember wears more of this chainmail, and to add in this chainmail, I'm going to draw in some diagonal lines by adding in some diagonal lines that go one way, and then I'll crisscross it by adding in some diagonal lines that go a different way. That's what we call cross-hatching in artist terms. We can also go back and even shade along the backside of her neck to even add in some contrast to our sketch. But now we can really start to add in the flames for her hair. And think of it as you're adding in really a campfire up at the top. And her hair is always moving, as fire is always moving. So to add in her flames, I'm going to hop over here towards the side of her oval and just underneath my construction line, I'll sketch out a diagonal line. So I'm pushing this here along the outside of the head shape a little bit. And I'll add in another diagonal line, just stretching this up and out, just curving it over towards the side. Think of this as you're adding in this backwards number 7 shape. But I'll also add in one over here along the right hand side here too. So I'm just drawing in some little baby flames here at first. But I'm going to add in her larger flames up here at the top by lightly sketching out a couple of diagonal lines. So you don't have to sketch this exactly the way I'm doing this here for her. I'll tell you a little bit more about this film, Elemental, which was directed by Peter Son. who also directed The Good Dinosaur. He also directed a short for Pixar called Partly Cloudy. For this film in particular, he based this off of his parents immigrating from South Korea. And it was really a love letter to his parents. Unfortunately, his parents weren't able to see the full completion of this film. Unfortunately, they did pass away, because this film actually took 7 years for Pixar to create. And they even had to buy more computers to really animate this film. And Peter Sohn has even done some voiceover work throughout his time at Pixar, being a storyboard artist. He's voiced Emile from Ratatouille. He also voiced Squishy from Monsters University. He was the cat in Lightyear Socks. And he's also happens to be the visual inspiration for the character Russell from Up. So even looks like Russell. I'm slightly sketching out her flames here of her hair. But once I have this basic shape here for her hair, I can start to go back and lock this in. So if you thought something was too big or too small, you can always resize it as you lock it in. So never feel as though you have to stick to these original lines that we sketched out. Rough sketching is really about resizing and readjusting as you lock your lines in anyway, because your eye is going to focus way more on a darker line than it will all of those lighter lines. And if it helps it out at all, you could definitely turn that board that's on your lap, because artists have these black discs, as I have here on the desk, so I can turn it and move it so I don't get those awkward arm movements. So you definitely use the board that's on your lap to your advantage, really whatever feels more comfortable to you as an artist. So don't feel as though you have to keep it stationary the whole entire time when you're sketching, especially with these big shapes here for Ember. And this film, Elemental, is actually Pixar's very first romantic comedy. So they even looked at different romantic comedies for inspiration. They looked at Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, The Big Sick, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and even You've Got Mail, which is one of my favorite romantic comedies. I was going back and just really locking in her hair. But with all this in place, I'd say we're about halfway through our sketch here of Ember Lumen. So how are our drawings turning out so far? Pretty good? Are we having fun? That's the most important part about drawing, is really having fun with this. Now that we have her silhouette, we can start to add in some facial features. A really great anchoring spot for a character is their nose. For where her nose is going to sit, it's going to sit right where our two construction lines are meeting. So I'm drawing in just a little mountain peak or an upside down letter V shape for her nose. That's really it. For her smile, that's by drawing in just a letter U shape halfway between the bottom of the nose and the bottom of her chin. So I'm drawing in just a letter U shape, just stretching this here from side to side. And to add in her eyes, think of her eyes as you're adding in these almond shapes or even these sideways teardrop shapes here for her. But sitting right up above her smile and right on top of our construction line, so I'd say right about here and right about here is where I want to start to add in her eyes. So I'm going to start this off by adding in this half rainbow shape. So just curving it here along the inside of the oval on either side. I always find it's best to work on both eyes at the same time. I'm going to stretch it almost all the way over towards the side here of the oval. So I'm turning this into a sideways letter J or a candy cane. And I'm going to curve it right back over towards my construction line. So I'm giving her more of a winged eyeliner here for her eye. By drawing in just a half letter U shape, just curving that right back over towards the construction line on either side. I'm going to give her some lashes here too. Right here at the end, drawing in this letter V curve here along the end. I'll even add in a few more lashes up at the top by just thickening up her lashes, adding in some more letter V shapes here for her. I'll also adding in some little eyeliner here for her too. So we're adding in some makeup here for our actor. And for the pupils, you can place the pupils anywhere inside the eyes you want. You can have her as if she's thinking, looking over at your neighbor, a little googly-eyed if you really wanted to. I'll have her look straight ahead at all of you by placing her pupils here along the inside corners here of her eye. So I'm sketching out just a full oval shape here for her eyes. And however you sketch the pupils in, you really want to make sure that they're the darkest part of the sketch. It's where all the attention and focus goes to, is right inside the eyes. So I'm making sure that they're really standing out nice and dark. It also helps to wake up our character on our page so she's starting to come to life. Something that helps to make eyes a little bit more expressive is giving a character eyebrows. For her eyebrows, sitting right up above her left eye, really towards the top here of the oval shape, I'm going to add in a rainbow. I'm also going to go back and thicken up her eyebrow a little bit more towards the center. So think of this as you're adding in this upside down crescent moon shape here for her brow. And for her eyebrow here on the right hand side, this one I'm going to draw in just more of a flatter U shape here for her brow. I'll also go back and thicken up her brow here for her too, as if she's giving away more of a questionable look. You think that's going to make me cry? So I'm just adding in just more of a thickness here to her brows. You can also start to go back and lock in, darken up really any of the lines that have started to fade away throughout our drawing process. You can even give her some little sparks, or you can also add in some shading here to our sketch. I'm lightly adding in some shading towards the top here of her head, as that's more of a darker part here of her flames. So I'm just using the side of the pencil to really add in some contrast into the sketch. But you can also lock in, darken up any of the lines that have started to fade away. Really the last step an artist needs to make is a signature. And you can sign your name wherever you feel it fits best. And after all done, you have sketched out your very own Ember Lumen from the film Elemental.